This just in. There's a certain kind of email that ruins your lunch break. It's got legal sounding words, a screenshot of your website, and a demand for hundreds of euros. The sender? Copytrack or Pixie or PickWright. All of them sound like startups invented by a lawyer who read too many LinkedIn posts. They claim you used an image without a license. They want money and they want it now. But let's slow down, because whether you've genuinely made a mistake or just triggered an overzealous copyright bot, you do have rights. And contrary to what the email implies, you are not automatically guilty. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to respond, how to protect yourself, and why even creators like me think some of these tactics cross the line. To start, let's look at what these companies are actually doing. Companies like Copytrack use software to scan millions of websites for copyrighted images. If they find one that matches an image in their database, they send out a legal-looking demand. Often, they haven't actually checked who owns the copyright. They also haven't checked if you had a proper license. Sometimes they haven't even confirmed if the photo is under a public license. Their business model depends on volume. They earn a commission when you pay, so they have an incentive to move fast and scare you into settling. In many cases, the same image has been properly licensed or used under Creative Commons, but the person receiving the demand can't immediately find the paperwork to prove it. So they pay. That's the playbook. But first, let's look at what not to do. Number one, do not panic pay. These demands are often negotiable or invalid altogether. But do not ignore them either. Silence can sometimes escalate things. This one's hard, but do not argue emotionally. Keep all responses professional and fact-based. Do not assume that deleting the image fixes everything. It helps, but it doesn't cancel any claim for past use. Instead, you need a plan. Okay, step one, save everything. Start a folder, save every email, attachment, and screenshot. If they linked to an image on your site, take your own screenshots too, showing the URL and date. You'll need these later. Step two, investigate. Look up the image. Where did you get it? If you used a stock photo service, search your email, download history, or billing records. Stock platforms like Canva, Adobe Stock, and Shutterstock usually keep license history for years. Can't find it? Then use a reverse image search. Tools like TinEye or Google Images can help you figure out where else the photo appears. If the image shows up across multiple stock libraries, that weakens the claim that it's exclusive to one photographer. Step three, ask them to prove it. You're allowed to ask questions. In fact, you should. Ask the claimant to provide proof that their client owns the copyright, documentation showing they're authorized to represent their client, and the image's original publication details, as well as their calculation for the settlement amount. You can also ask for confirmation it wasn't licensed to you via Canva, Adobe Stock, etc. Don't admit anything, just ask for proof. You're allowed to verify the legitimacy of the claim before taking any action. Step 4. Check your local law. This is where it gets interesting. I live in South Africa, and when Copytrack accused me of using an image without a license, I was irritated. Because I actually did have a license through Canva Pro, and yet the email they sent me read like a fine was already due. So I sent them a polite, well-documented email asking for proof of their right to act on behalf of the supposed image owner, clarification on the mismatch between the name on the image and the Canva contributor, compliance with South African law, which says the first step must be a proper letter of demand, not a payment notice, and a reminder that in South Africa, foreign claimants may need to put up security costs if they sue. When I eventually received my license proof from Canva, I sent it to them and said all future questions should go to Canva directly, as I'd already wasted enough time on an issue I wasn't even guilty of. I also pointed out the contradiction of an artist licensing their work through Canva, collecting royalties, and then targeting Canva's own paying subscribers with copyright claims, seemingly to cash in a second time. It made me angry. Not because creators shouldn't protect their work, but because the burden of proof was placed entirely on me before they'd even shown me their right to make a claim. You don't need a lawyer yet. If the demand is small and your case is clear, you can handle it yourself using one of the many response templates available online. But if you're unsure, if the amount is large, or if they start throwing around terms like willful infringement, consider speaking to a copyright attorney. A short consultation can save you a lot more than it costs. And know your legal rights. Each country has different copyright procedures. You don't need to become a legal expert, but you do need to learn the basics. Even a quick Google or a post in a local Facebook group can point you in the right direction. Look up what the law says about cease and desist requirements, proof of copyright ownership, limits on damages or penalties, settlement negotiation norms. Even if you're technically in the wrong, your legal system has already defined the proper first steps, and pay now or else is usually not one of them. What about in Germany, where Copytrack is based? Well, let's clear something up. The emails might sound like they're quoting German law, chapter and verse, but Copytrack is not a government body. They're not a court, and no, they cannot issue actual fines. Here's how it works under German law. Copytrack cannot fine you. Only the state can issue a fine. What Copytrack sends is a civil compensation request or a backdated licensing fee. Real copyright claims in Germany usually start with a formal legal letter, typically sent by a lawyer. It demands that you stop the use and pay a defined amount. Copytrack's version is more of a friendly threat that says, pay now or else. If you ignore Copytrack, they may escalate the claim to one of their partner law firms. At that point, the process becomes more formal. But until then, you're dealing with a company requesting money, not a legal authority issuing judgment. They often refuse the MFM tables to calculate these fees, and these are standard German pricing guidelines for professional photography. Courts sometimes accept them, but not always, especially if the photographer isn't a full-time pro or the image was used in a simple way like a blog post. German courts have pushed back, and Copytrack has lost several cases when they couldn't prove their clients held the copyright or when their fee calculations were too high for the situation. Burden of proof matters. Just because Copytrack says they represent a photographer doesn't make it so. In court, they must prove ownership. And courts have questioned their approach when their system wrongly flags people who license the image legally through platforms like Canva or Shutterstock. So yes, they operate legally in Germany, but their tactics often blur the line between legal accuracy and intimidation. It's a bit like a business charging you a late fee they made up and hoping you just pay it without asking too many questions. And if you're outside Germany, it's even more important to check your own local laws. The rules I've mentioned are German specific and may not apply in your country at all. Just because Copytrack is based there doesn't mean their approach holds legal weight where you live. Your country's legal system decides how claims must be handled, not theirs. You are allowed to ask questions, and you should. I want to add that copyright infringement is serious. I need to be clear on this one thing. Courts don't just brush it off, and they shouldn't. Creators deserve to have their rights protected. If someone uses your work without permission, it's reasonable to expect recourse. And yes, even in blogland, ignorance isn't always a defense. That said, mistakes happen. Maybe you uploaded the wrong image, maybe an intern did. Maybe you assumed something was free to use because it didn't have a watermark. Maybe the file's been sitting on your website for 6 years and you forgot where it even came from. We are running small businesses here, not global media companies with legal teams double-checking every pixel. Courts know this too. In South Africa, for example, the Copyright Act allows for a smaller fine for first-time offenses. That's likely because lawmakers understand that sometimes people just mess up. If you keep doing it, then yes, the penalties increase, as they should. So no, I'm not saying it's okay to use copyrighted images without a license. I'm saying you have a right not to be bullied by companies that behave like copyright enforcers but play fast and loose with the law. You deserve a fair process. No threats, no inflated fees, and no scare tactics that assume you're guilty and count on you being too overwhelmed to fight back. Be firm, not fearful. Whether you use the image correctly or not, you deserve due process. These companies rely on you being afraid, uninformed, and eager to make it go away. Instead, be calm, professional, and a little stubborn. Ask questions, keep records, push back when something feels off. If you've acted in good faith, that counts for a lot. And if this video helps you stay calm when the email hits, do me a favor and send it to someone else who needs it. While you're at it, if you want help writing a clear, confident message that protects your business, download my free 5-minute marketing fix. It will help you write one clear sentence that explains what your business does and why it matters. You can download it for free in the description below or go to strategicmarketingtribe.com/fix. But what about you? What's your image licensing process like right now? I'll go first. I get all my images from a single source because then I don't need to keep track of where they came from and it's easier to find the licenses later. Okay, your turn. What's your system or lack of one? Let me know in the comments. I'm Vicky Sidler from the Strategic Marketing Tribe and I post helpful news updates for small businesses every day.